Hi, this is Joe Navarro, and welcome back to People Watching. Today, I'm going to dissect something I wrote about in my book, Be Exceptional, and that is observation. And the question I'm always asked, what do you observe for? And my easy answer is everything that matters. And what a chunk that is. But it really does matter where you're at, what you're doing, but it's so critical to be observant. And obviously, we don't all observe the same things. But the one thing I did find that truly exceptional people do is their powers of observation are really powerful. Now, some people obviously pick up on body language, for instance, much quicker than others. Other people look at the financial markets and pick up on trends and changes or opportunities and are able to act on them. And then there are, for instance, physicians who can look at your body and say, oh, wow, you're having heart problems without even putting any instruments on you. So obviously skill training affects all of us. But let's just start with the average person and the skill set of observation. And the first thing you have to be aware of is, where am I? What's the time of day? Who's around me? You're alert to yourself. In other words, am I having a good day, a bad day? Am I really tired or am I sick? Things like that. But we have to be observant of ourselves. I know as a trained pilot, one of the things that pilots always ask themselves, am I up for this mission? Because the last thing you want to do is be sick up in the air. So observation of the world around you, and you can train yourself. You can train yourself to walk into a building and say, okay, where are the exits? Where are the fire extinguishers? If I need to hit the emergency button because there's a fire, where is that? Simple things, and it's not a burden. It just requires you to pay greater attention. One of the things that exceptional people are able to do is rely on detail. They're very detail oriented. They can walk into a room and they will pick up on the smallest thing that is out of place. The one thing that wasn't cleaned, the one bolt that wasn't tightened. I've always been amazed at people who can look with such detail, which obviously makes life a lot easier for us, a lot more pleasant. You want to get on an aircraft where all the bolts are tightened and so forth, and who pay attention to nuance. Exceptional individuals are very sensitive to the nuances that really are reflective of humans, where one minute you're comfortable and then maybe the next minute you're not. One minute you're thirsty, maybe the next minute you're not. So being able to pick up on nuances and changes in conversation, things like that, really make for exceptional individuals because they can then be attentive. Exceptional individuals can differentiate very quickly between two situations, between something they saw yesterday and today, and maybe even two things that are sitting next to each other. I'll never forget working with an expert in New York who could look at a Prada bag and say, this one's real and this one is fake. And to me, they looked the same. And yet he was able to pick out that this one had so many sewing points per inch versus another one. Amazing ability to differentiate. The other thing is exceptional individuals are naturally curious, and not curious in a way that is offensive to other people or makes you feel like you're being observed. They're curious in a very benign way. They ask questions. They want to know this versus that. They want to know more about you. And they do so many times, as I do, so that they can then be more attentive. Knowing what your culture is from, where you're from, things like this, helps us to communicate more effectively. The other day I was talking to someone, and she said to me, "Where's your accent from?" And I said, "Well, I was born in Cuba, but I grew up in Miami." And I said, "Where's yours from?" And she said, "Well, I'm from Latvia." And so that allowed us to then engage in a very nice conversation about history and other things. So the ability to observe, in her case, she noticed a little bit of an accent in me. I noticed a little bit of an accent in her. Benign curiosity is very helpful. And always remember, your purpose is to get to know other people, not to offend. When it comes to nonverbal communications, obviously, the better observer is always going to be, if I can borrow from Shakespeare, the surest winner. A person who can observe the needs, the wants, the desires, the fears, the apprehensions, and the preferences of others is going to have a tremendous advantage. And I have to say that whatever success I had in my career was attributed to my ability to observe the subtle changes in others, to observe their reactions to things that I asked or things that were said, and to then be able to act on that or pivot on those observations that I made. And as I note, again in the book, Be Exceptional, as I went around the world and did hundreds of interviews, the thing that really stood out was the exceptional individual's ability to observe at all times. And if you can rise to that, well then you too can be exceptional. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and thank you for sharing your time.